The special dividend train keeps rolling on. We've had a couple new ones. We have HCA, the healthcare company, and Whole Foods at the end of last week came out with $2 a share special dividends as companies get worried about the fiscal cliff. Agnes, you've taken a look at this subject. It seems to, I guess we're going to have these continuing on to the end of the year.
I mean, I think we've seen this before, but we're definitely seeing more this time around, like when these tax cuts are going to expire. And so companies want to give their shareholders and in many instances themselves as well, because a lot of the companies that are doing these are family owned.
So the fear is that the taxes on dividend will go up as part of some package, maybe from 15% to 39%.
So it makes a lot of sense. If you have the money, if you're a company, you have the money, and you can either pay some of next year's dividend early or maybe even a bigger one than usual. Again, if you can afford it, why not? Because if taxes go up at all at the end of the year, then it's better for your shareholders to get the dividend this year than next.
Exactly.
So then the question is, okay, can you afford it? Now we know corporate America is hoarding cash.
Yeah, like in the aggregate, we know I think that it's like 1.7 trillion. But a lot of these companies, like for example, Costco, when it issued its dividend, it's going to borrow that money because the dividend itself would have wiped out all the cash on hand. And so we're seeing this, and HCA will also borrow money to actually pay the dividend.
So borrowing is really cheap. So that's not, in that sense, it's not such a bad idea.
It's a question of why not at this stage, right? I mean,
but I think that one of the big questions for me of why not is, throughout this whole narrative around the fiscal cliff is this issue of it could send the U.S. into recession, right? And so if that is on the table, and there's been lots of talk about uncertainty, particularly from CEOs, then why are you deploying cash at this moment when we don't know what's going to happen next year?
Especially if you have to borrow it.
And HCA in particular is somewhere around 4.5 times debt to EBITDA is leveraged by it. A lot of the guys are still in there. But I mean, I
take a cynical view of this, right?
Really? Shocks me.
This uncertainty, that everybody, a lot of CEOs have expressed about the fiscal cliff and the problems for their business is not really uncertainty. That it's a fear of they know taxes are going up. They're not quite sure where and how and which areas, and dividends may or may not in the end. But taxes are going up, and they don't like taxes going up. And it's understandable in a way. So I think it's built around that. I think this may have been your conclusion too, that actually the bigger concern is that taxes go up, which is not quite the same concern as there being a downturn and a business headwinds next year.
So
I think
they're much more fearful
of higher taxes, exactly,
than they are
and not necessarily
a colossal recession.
But this is the point, right? Because this has always been the narrative. They're obviously concerned about higher taxes, but they're not concerned that those higher taxes are going to cause a recession or a significant slowdown in economic growth.
All right, well, we'll leave it there. A lot of questions still open. We'll be back with more Breaking Views tomorrow.